Hey guys, so this is the first big patch for the new season, and we've got a bunch of mini reworks or updates in here, plus some other more hidden things that you definitely need to know about. I put this into the stuff that I think you really have to know before you play on this patch today, some rune stuff, and then the roles as well. By the way, some of you might remember, but I tried to compile a list of what elo people were last season at some point, and it looked a bit like this in the end, like this was the breakdown. I really want to do it for this season to know where I should be aiming my videos to make them a bit better, so we're going to do the same as last time. If you can do me a favor and go onto the QT, you leave a comment, select which rank you are currently after placements. In the comment, just stick your season 7 rank, your season 8 placement score, so how many wins, losses, where you got placed. It will really help me out. And I've also managed to get QT to give me some RP too, so I'll pick 2 winners from the comments over on there as a thank you for $10 each. So the stuff you really have to know, first of all, this is the important part. The most underrated and game-changing update was actually to Minion Aggro. This is something not a lot of people picked up on. It was at the bottom of the patch notes. Any damaging spell that is targeted now will draw Minion Aggro. It's the same as how an auto attack would work that way. This is much bigger for some champions and not so much for others, but it changes how you're going to have to lane now. Some of these really are not going to make a difference, like Diana's ultimate or Jarvan's ultimate, like the Cataclysm, even Elise's Q. Like these are followed by an auto attack anyway. You're full on fighting, you're engaging, you're trying to kill them, you're going to draw Minion Aggro anyway. Others that are more about trading are really big, like Cassio's E-spam, for example, Annie's Q, Akali's Q, Pantheon's Q, LeBlanc's Q. All of those style things will now draw Minion Aggro. There are loads of these that I'm going to try and list on screen for a little bit. You can pause the video and check them out if you want to. They are more like poke and trade based and stuff. That will mean that you get aggro and take more damage now in the lane phase. It's actually a really big change. I'm kind of surprised they suddenly threw this in during Season 8 and not in the preseason, but it's not like going to break the game or anything. You just have to know that now when you hit people with the targeted spell, you will be taking damage from minions. The easiest way to think of it is like if you have to click on your spell and then click on someone to actually use it, if you do, that will now draw Minion Aggro. Another really big change is to Kleptomancy. The drop rate is significantly decreased in the first 15 minutes of the game for loot items. After 15 minutes, the drop rate has been lowered for melee slightly, but massively lowered for ranged champions, and selling items that you get through Kleptomancy gives about 20% less gold than before. This is kind of hard to judge because Riot is specifically not telling anybody how much they have nerfed this by, just that it was significantly reduced. It should mean that Kleptomancy is now a much worse as a keystone, and that all the other Kleptomancy abusers like Ezreal, Nasus, Gangplank, Alawi especially are going to be a lot weaker in this patch. Maybe significantly means a little bit different to Riot than it does to us, but it should be easier to fight against them now. They're going to get less consumable drops for them, so less healing, less mana, less like elixirs and stuff like that, and they should also be getting less gold at the same time. Nunu is a change that is pretty ridiculous. His Q stacking mechanic, like eating large monsters and stuff, giving them the buff, now also grants him magic damage on his basic attacks, but that's pretty minor in comparison to his Blood Boy chain. His W now also gives 40% AP, which is capped at 40 AP to 120 depending on your rank on both targets. Everyone can kind of see how weird this is, which is putting it quite nicely. The main thing though is that even though the AP is really good, it's still got the attack speed and move speed on there as well. So the issue is going to be for champions who can use all of those, like Azir, Temu, or Kayle especially. They're going to be really strong. Those champions build attack speed for damage, but they also need some AP at the same time to back it up. So now Nunu is giving them both of those and boosting their damage twice. Azir, especially with how strong he is right now, like he is really good at the moment, will probably be pickle ban if Nunu is on the same team as him at the same time. The change isn't like 100% crazy on its own, but it is really weird when you put it together with certain other champions. Vayne is the final champion you have to know about this patch because a lot of people play her and she's going to be probably a lot weaker. Her attack speed growth per level is down, and her ultimate bonus AD has been lowered as well. They added this ninja nerf onto Vayne here that wasn't on the PBE. The attack speed growth per level is down. If that sounds familiar, it should be because that's how they killed Caitlyn and how they moved Ezreal from the highest win rate in preseason down to pretty much average and made room for Vayne in the first place. The ultimate AD change is going to hurt a little bit, but messing with an AD carry's attack speed growth is really risky and could put her in the dumpster again overnight. If you play her over the next week and she feels quite a bit weaker, this is going to be exactly why. Final big change you're going to have to know about is Sightstone, Ruby Sightstone, Frost Queen's Claim, Talisman, and Face of the Mountain have all been removed from the game completely. Support quests now require 500 gold to upgrade and give awards like a Sightstone would on Frostfang, Nomads, and Targans. Spell Thieves also has been nerfed for laners and junglers. The lockout time now is 12 seconds from 8 seconds, so it'll be less gold, and also Targans has been nerfed specifically for AD carries or for ranged champions. It isn't just AD carries because obviously Thresh will be hit by this as well, but the healing has been reduced by 50% if procced by a ranged champion. Main things you'll have to know about that, what it actually means in the game is don't flame your supports when they don't buy a sight stone now, because they actually can't. Supports will get their first big item, redemption, locket, whatever, faster now because they don't have to spend any gold for wards. Spell Thieves is nowhere near as good for laners now. Junglers maybe, because they can use the wards a bit more, and Targons with half the healing and no shield from the quest means I would be really surprised actually if AD carry still bought this patch. Overheal as a rune is pretty strong, and obviously it was made stronger by Relic Shield, but just not with Targons most likely. Like, if anything, they will get Relic Shield to start with and not upgrade it. Moving into some of the rune changes then, Aftershock's damage has been lowered. It's given an AD and an AP scaling though, so if you build any of that, you'll be doing a little bit, I guess. The flat resistance though, granted, is much higher now because they have removed the percentage resistance bonus. What you have to know about this is that when a tank dives in, they will be more tanky to start the game, like in the mid game and stuff, but easier to kill as the game goes on. Now, there is no percentage gain on it. The Keystone is really now designed specifically for giving them a window at the start of a fight after engaging where they don't die, where they're really difficult to kill, so you might just want to run away after they engage and then turn afterwards. Grasp the Undying has also been buffed for ranged champions, like Gnar for example. Thank you for pointing that out last video, I missed that one. It's a weird change and it's only minor. You don't really have to worry about this too much. Guardian has also been changed though. The cooldown is up at early levels but decreased later. The shield value is also lower because it has a better AP and health ratio to buff it, but the base is lower. It's going to be easier to fight against people who have this now in the laner phase, but the shield will be really good for team fights. We will probably see a lot of tanks do better out of this change. Obviously, there's more health ratio on there. They're going to have more health as a tank anyway, and even maybe more supporty style champions like a Janna might want to take it now as well. The Glacial Augment buff doesn't really do too much, like it doesn't change how it works. The slow has been increased for melee and ranged champions and also from the item actives. You just kind of have to be aware that it is stronger now. This is one of those keystones that I think is actually kind of underrated, and soon eventually will probably pop off. Like, it's not even that bad on some AD carries actually right now. Non-keystone wise, Coup de Grace has 2% lower damage, Last Stand has 1% lower damage, and Triumph in the Precision Tree, all three of those in Precision Tree now gives 5 gold less on a kill. Zombie Ward got hit pretty hard. The duration scales with the game from 60 seconds to 180, and it used to be just 180 seconds the entire game. It also has this new thing where it's kind of a quality of life. If you reveal a ward with a Sweeper, Control Ward, or Scrying Bloom, you don't actually have to hit that ward to spawn the zombie ward like you would have had to before. Basically, just you revealing it now counts as kind of an assist, like as if you hit it, right? If an ally kills it, of course. Moving into the roles, mid lane to start with only has one change to Malzahar. His AP ratio and his Q has been lowered, and his ultimate cooldown is 20 seconds longer rank 1, 10 seconds longer rank 2, and the same rank 3. This should actually make a bit of an impact to him as far as like getting ahead goes. An extra 20 to 30 seconds by the time you've used it between ultimate usage in the lane phase will reduce how many kills he's going to get during that time as well. He's obviously still going to be Malzahar. He still does a lot of damage for not really doing that much, but he is going to be weaker and he can't use his ult as often. We're going to move into the jungle now, and this might be the patch for AP junglers to finally come back into the game. We haven't seen them for a while now. Runic Echoes is now going to refund 25% of missing mana from 15%, and according to Riot, a lot of AP junglers that struggle have mana issues, and this change helps them without making them overpowered. Honestly, it could be true. Either way, I think we'll see more AP junglers do better now for sure. I'm just kind of afraid of if like Evelynn and Nidalee, for example, use this as well and get even stronger than they already are. Especially Echo though, has actually been given a specific jungle buff, given attack speed too. If you were jungling Echo last season, you would take attack speed runes to help you clear. Now Riot have given you that for free in your base stats. There have been a few jungle Echo tweaks recently, so it seems like they really want him to be a jungler as well as a laner, and maybe this is the patch it finally happens. Speaking of Evelynn though, I think she has the potential to be the most overpowered jungler right now if played properly, so this kind of makes sense, like this nerf. And you have to remember though that they are changing the percentage damage values, which makes more difference mid to late game rather than early. During the lane phase and stuff like that, she'll be roaming around still killing everybody. It doesn't really change that phase of the game. Final jungle change, Kha'Zix. Move damage from his passive to his Q. Pretty minor, but he might need more than this, honestly. His R evolution first now is so stupid to play against, and makes him such a solid pick in every single game. So we've talked about Vayne already for the AD carry changes. We're going to go into Ezreal now. Q damage lowered massively rank 1, but it will be the same rank 5 when you finally level it up. Combined with the Kleptomancy nerfs, this might actually be the final nail in the Ezreal coffin, and I swear he's like Vayne. Like, as soon as he gets popular, Riot just bend him over again so fast. So you should expect your lane phase fighting and your poke to be weaker now, also made weaker by less consumables from Kleptomancy and the sorcery nerfs that we had a little while ago, all combining together to really screw his damage. I think this should make him much easier to deal with, and if that is true, you might as well just pick a scaling AD carry instead and play for mid to late game. Speaking of which, we have some massive changes for Jinx, which is really cool. Her passive now can go past the attack speed cap, which is same as lethal tempo, and her Q attack speed is higher, but it doesn't scale with level now, so it's stronger earlier. The first attack as well, after you swap to rocket form, fires a lot faster. These could be really big, but probably not quite as big as you are thinking. Mainly the Q changes though. The passive is really nice, but I'm not sure how often you want to go over the attack speed cap anyway. The main thing with the Q is that it's not a ton more attack speed overall in the game, but it is earlier into the game because it's just built into the rank and not her level now. What that means is that instead of having to wait ages for Jinx to be really good, she's going to be really powerful at like 1-2 items when she has maxed her Q level 9. These mid-game fights where she could sometimes struggle if she doesn't get ahead, she'll be a lot better and be pumping out way more damage. The danger here is that like you're giving a hyper carry, an AoE crit AD carry, a better mid-game. That could be really nuts. Also, she's actually much better at bronze, silver, and gold ranks than higher up. She's quite easy to play, gets ahead, crushes with her rockets and stuff, so doing this might create chaos down there. The support role has nothing major. The main support changes are the sight stone and the item things we've talked about already earlier in the video, but Sona's mana cost on her Q is actually going down. For the top lane though, Ornn has his W, no longer making him unstoppable, and his ultimate cooldown is going to be 10, 20, and 30 seconds longer depending on the rank. His W change doesn't really matter that much, but his ultimate one is pretty good. One issue with Ornn was that he could get that ulti cooldown so low late game, which will be a lot harder to do now. I think it's more like, to be honest, I think it's more his brittle damage stuff, like the mark that he puts over your head, that is making it really hard to trade against him with his W, not being unstoppable. So I doubt that kind of fixes much there in lane phase. So those are the changes that we have in 8.2 and everything you're going to need to know about them. Let me know what you think of these, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.